Who would you consider to be the chef between the two of us?
I think you can make individual items better, but I think put me in a room and I'm the best chef. I'll make something out of nothing. That's my take.
Oh, so
I have
you
the
think
faith.
you would do that better? Like if we gave you like the mystery box,
Yeah,
you
it
could.
goes back to the chopped thing. I think I'm gonna excel at chopped, but in reality, that's not true because I'm an extremely picky eater and I can't like taste like it just comes down to the fact that in reality I could never be a great chef because most foods I don't like. So you probably take the cake in mass appeal. I think most people would like what you cook because you just have a wider breadth of ingredients available to you.
That's fair. I also feel like I'm able to disguise the stuff you may not like in the foods I make, and then you eat them.
That's fair. You can try,
So,
but I'll always find the beans and the chili.
well, that's fair. Beans are hard to hide.
You know, in the movie that we're talking about today, there's a lot of amazing looking cooking, but it goes back to the thing of I don't really like seafood. There's a lot of like vegetables and things that I don't really eat. So despite finding it super aesthetically pleasing in the way that it's presented in this movie, I probably wouldn't actually eat most of it.
Which is sad to me. I feel like you need to try that stuff because all of that looks so freaking good. And maybe you don't like the way what you've had before because of the way it's been cooked or not cooked. This food that we're talking about today looks like nothing I've ever had before, and I want to try all of it.
Absolutely. There's definitely a level of cultural blindness that goes into it as well. And I think that's the beauty of watching movies like this. You know, this is the first movie that we've taken on our MK300 list that is entirely in a foreign language. It is not the last one.
It made me hungry.
But it's always cool to watch movies like this because you get to see and go to a place that you've never been. And, you know, for a short period of time, you get to kind of jump right in. So let's jump right into this episode. This is MK300. I'm Korbin.
And I'm Nina.
And we're tackling our watch list of over 300 specially curated movies, one at a time, and talking about them. Today, we're talking about the 1994 Taiwanese film, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
From the acclaimed director of The Wedding Banquet, the Samuel Goldwyn Company presents Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. The story of three sisters looking for a recipe for romance, and their father, one of the world's great chefs, trying to understand the ingredients. In this family, if you can't cope, you can always cook. Three women with a taste for life. And Dad just trying to stay on the menu. One part laughter. One part passion. With a dash of intrigue, honor, and adventure mixed in. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
From director Ang Lee. This comedy drama film about an expert chef father and his three daughters as they navigate the challenges of love, life, and tradition while growing older stars Shi-Hung Lung as the patriarch of the Chu family from a script by frequent Lee collaborator James Schamus and Wei Li Yuang. It is the final movie in the Father Knows Best trilogy, which marks the three first films from director Ang Lee, which are tied together with similar cultural and familial themes. The other two movies, Pushing Hands and The Wedding Banquet, the second one, is also on our MK300 list, so this will not be the end of our discussion about this Father Knows Best trilogy.
This trilogy, the family thing it circles is the father being the head of the family.
So it's not this specific family. It's
not
just,
this family, but in general, like the family makeup.
Yeah, it's this idea of changing times and culture. The Wedding Banquet is about a Taiwanese family in the United States,
Ooh.
I believe. So it kind of deals with, those ideas of assimilation.
Yeah.
We will talk about it. That'll be the other movie that we discuss. So we'll definitely get into that more down the line.
Okay.
And it is the same actor who plays the father in this movie
I like
and
it.
The Wedding Banquet. So you can look forward to that. And then, of course, following that trilogy, Lee would go on to direct Hulk, Sense and Sensibility, Life of Pi, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Brokeback Mountain. This is the only movie, however, in his entire filmography that was entirely shot in his native country of Taiwan.
That's really cool. I forgot he directed Hulk.
Oh, yeah. But classic movie that we went and saw together. Additionally, I will say there are a lot of Taiwanese names in this. Apologies if I get any pronunciations incorrect. I was trying to look them up prior to this. But starring alongside are Wang Hui-wen, Wei Shen-un Li-un, and Yang Kue-mi. It's on the list because it is a part of the 25 essential rom-coms. So on our MK300 list, there are 25 rom-coms that are critically and culturally accepted. Basically, I just found a letterbox list that had a lot of famous ones. I sorted it by letterbox rating, and I grabbed the first 25 that I had not seen and I didn't think you had seen. So Father Knows Best, we get a little bit of a international pick for a rom-com. So it's
I like
something
that.
different. And there's going to be 24 more that we will be unpacking in the future.
I'm honestly, you saying that and assuming I haven't seen some of them kind of bums me out that the rom-coms I've seen are not considered in the top 25.
Well, I definitely no. There was ones that you had seen that I purposely skipped over, or that we had watched together already.
Oh, okay.
Trying to keep the list to as many things new to us. Let's get into this movie. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. What did
minks.
you?
No minks.
No
in
minks.
this.
There's fish. No minks though, sadly.
No minks.
I want to talk about this family first off, because I think it's just a really interesting dynamic. I love that each of the daughters has kind of their own unique story. So maybe we wanted to kind of just talk about each one individually real quick.
Daughters.
See, I can't even pronounce English words correctly, so apologies there. Let's start with the youngest daughter. So we have Zhao Ning. She is basically a student. She's a college student, and she is also working at a Wendy's. That's kind of her whole thing. And very early on in the story, she falls in love with her coworker's ex/current
It's a weird
boyfriend.
situation.
And then very quickly
Gets pregnant
and runs off.
I mean, that felt very stereotypical of the youngest daughter to me, where they're a little bit more carefree and adventurous.
The jump they take is sooner than the other two sisters are still living at home.
Yeah, so it definitely that kind of storyline for her felt like something I had seen before, where the youngest typically dips pretty quickly and is kind of just free-spirited, living their life the way they want to. You can tell she's fearful of having this conversation with her family because it is a little weird and, like probably against cultural norms for her to get pregnant at such a young age, not married.
I mean, even you go to the 90s in America and
still, yeah.
Even today, there's parts of America that would definitely see that.
So that was interesting. But also her working at Wendy's, I'm always curious how big chains like that that are American chains, what they serve in different countries that are different. And so I wanted to see that menu a little bit better when we were in Wendy's, because I wanted to know
it's the I love it. It's the classic like yellow. It's the bright yellow Wendy's, the red and yellow. It's so intense. We've become so much more pastel and dystopian in all our fast food these days. I do wonder when Wendy's arrived in the country of Taiwan, like how long it had existed. But it's definitely, I think there's a clear metaphor there of like, you've got this father who is cooking all of this very traditional and beautiful cuisine. And then his daughter just works at this American fast food restaurant that in a lot of ways is the international imperialism and capitalism was like coming in and changing the culture. And that's a huge theme in this movie, that idea of tradition and changing and growing up and leaving.
Well, if we're going to speak about tradition, let's talk about the eldest daughter then.
Yeah. So the eldest daughter, who has, despite still living at home, has differentiated herself the most from the family in her religious beliefs.
Correct.
Because she has devoted herself to Christianity, which I think is a really interesting angle. The rest of the family isn't. It
doesn't look like they're
just kind of like, it's kind of silly.
It does, yeah, and then they don't seem like they're like outwardly religious in any way. It's more that it seems like it's more of a personal reflection of how they want to view things versus her, where she's living her life through Christ, which is like pretty common for individuals that convert to Christianity.
Yeah,
they're oftentimes more
you're very
and involved and living your life the way that you perceive that teaching is telling you to live your life, and you want others to join now, and it's like, a whole thing.
Yeah, I think Zhao, the eldest daughter character, is super interesting, and obviously like in terms of religion, like the title of this movie comes from the Book of Rites, which is this Confucius classic, which obviously that's like there's a lot of ideas about like balance and like finding the balance in your life, and these three daughters clearly are in some way or another, like there's something wrong. There's something out of balance with them. But of course, there's the quote in the movie. It's everything goes down to basic desires of eat, drink, man, woman, and you kind of are seeing all of these people try and fulfill those things in their life. Of course, Zhao Zhen also has this fated love. Well, first of all, she has this lie that she tells.
But we don't know it's a lie. So
we don't know until later. It's one of the many twists of the movie. She has
this massive heartbreak in college, and now she's been single since then. And it leads you to believe that college was quite a while ago for her. I'm thinking she's late 20s.
Yeah, she's 30. An established chemistry teacher. She's got her microphone. She's standing up in front of the class. She's got her life about her.
Her students hate her.
Her students hate her. That's for sure. They're messing with her. But she tells this lie that it seems to just have been to like get her family off her back
about not dating
anyone. But in this movie, we see her kind of fall in love, get a little bit of an early romance happen with this volleyball coach.
Motorcycle driving
volleyball. That is an important detail. What did you think about that love story?
He rolls up with his motorcycle and is like, "I'll give you a ride home," and then finds out it's the wrong direction for him. So he's like, "Just kidding," which he lost me at that point. I was like, this is wow. But she looks like she's way more into him now too. Like her face after that moment is confusing to me, but
you want what you can't have. I think that's the
But I thought it was kind of fun for her. He seems to be...
He's got his sexy sweatpants on, playing volleyball with his butt.
They really do show off his butt. But it seemed like he was going to be more of that like loosey-goosey carefree vibe that she was missing at this point in her life.
Absolutely.
And so it seemed like a good pairing.
He's a comic relief in the movie to a certain extent, and a comic relief that's needed in her life because, like we said, she's so like Christianity, rigid, locked in, strict ass teacher.
She's convinced that love is not in her life, and her duty is to stay home and take care of their father. So, as the eldest daughter, that is typically like throughout cultures is typically the one that has to take care of people afterwards if they have not moved on their own. So that felt interesting. But then she quickly, after falling in love with this guy, is like, bye-bye.
Leaves right away. And then we're left with the middle daughter, who at the beginning of the movie is the person we're being told is moving out first, is the person who's seemingly leaving. She's got this apartment. She's got the most, prestigious job. She seems to have her shit together the most. But
she seems to be the one that wants to leave the most.
That is true. We also then go on to learn that, there's a lot more going on with her personal relationship. She's got this like friends with benefits situation going on.
With clearly a guy that she dated for a while, but they weren't compatible together like that with all of that.
Yes.
What they perceived to be pressures of an actual relationship.
Yeah. So she's got that going on, but then that even falls apart for her because he's going to marry a woman. He suggests that they can continue their relationship, but she does shut that down. And then this apartment that she has paid for, bought, that she plans to move into shortly, turns out to be a scam, is not actually even being developed. It's an abandoned building that's falling apart. The company went bankrupt. Then we also learned that she's, completely lost in her job. She doesn't really want to be doing, believe it or not, some airline executive position. She has this love for cooking that she's kind of suppressed because...
it seems to upset her father.
Right, yeah, it's not good enough for her father, despite being the thing that he's obviously devoted his life to.
It's that weird line that I think you see a lot, not just in life, but also in cinema, is parents having a career that their kids want to emulate and then are told that's not good enough for you. You need to do
want better for your child.
And in a lot of ways, I think that often ends up ruining whatever they have with their child in movies and stuff, because who's to say their kid can't go further with what they're doing? It's a limited mindset, and I think she's now had a worse life, in her opinion, because she hasn't been able to get that love and support from her father in something she actually is passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, then she finally finds like another man to have an affair with.
Who ends up
then being the reveal.
The ex-boyfriend.
That's how we find out that the oldest daughter lied. Which is kind of a confusing thing when you're trying to read the subtitles. There are a couple moments in this movie that I think, just like because of the translation, you're like, what exactly happened? And then you catch up. That's one of them where it's like, this guy was the boyfriend of the oldest daughter's friend in college, and then she used him and his name to like make up this story about having him as her boyfriend, and obviously it was never true. It gets into the weeds a little bit. Let's talk about the dad, where things get, I think, the most interesting and really their central figure in this movie. It opens with him cooking, doing all this immaculate cooking. I think maybe we can talk about the cuisine. Did you have a favorite image that you saw? I was a big fan of the watermelon carving. Now, of course,
that was cool.
It doesn't even get used because he's like, it breaks and it's not good enough. But like, that is just some incredible.
Honestly, my favorite image is just the table set with everything, because then you are really seeing everything he has prepared all day long for his daughters. Mm-hmm. And it also just seems like an insane amount of food for 4 people.
Yeah, it's the cool thing where it's like, it's not individual plates, it's communal food. It's
family style.
Exactly. They're sitting around, they're sharing this time with each other. It's this big Sunday dinner that they have every week. The daughters seem kind of like, it's whatever, uninterested. They don't even like act like the food's that great. But then obviously...
And that's like a whole thing going into it, is that their father's losing his taste and his cooking isn't as good as it used to be.
True. But this is also like a really important time for them, because it's like, we've talked about all these announcements that get made. You know, Zhao Ning says she's moving out, she's pregnant, she's getting married. Well, actually, Zhao Xin, in the beginning of the movie, makes the announcement that she's moving out to an apartment. Zhao Jin later makes the announcement, that she's marrying the volleyball coach. There's all these announcements, these things that are happening. And then there's a final cumulative announcement at the end.
Indeed.
But they always happen around
dinner,
these meals.
Which I love. But also, those announcements that Zhao Ning and Zhao Zhen give, they leave that night. Like, they make the announcement, and then it seems
their
like...
Their bags are packed.
Boom, we're getting out. And honestly, I love that them giving no space for pushback. They're just like, this is what's happening.
It is their time to be together, and there's really no arguing.
I thought that was so funny.
There's a wonderful quote in here with the cooking that I love, where he says, "It's strange, I don't have any childhood memories unless I cook them," which I think is so beautiful, because obviously it's been proven scientifically that your memories are strongly attributed to sensory experiences, whether it be touch or smell.
That's why I would choose
or
gum
literally
while studying.
taste.
That's why I would chew gum while studying for tests, and then chew the same gum during tests.
Attributing the minty flavor to your all the.
I couldn't listen to the music while taking my test, so I had to do something else.
Memorizing authors. That's what you had to do, right? That's what tests were.
I was talking about high
list
school.
List all the authors. Oh, okay. High school. Yeah, but I think that's just a brilliant idea about, it's so true. You can taste something and be brought back to your childhood. For this man who, is at the end of life, he's lost his wife. He has these 3 daughters who are growing up and leaving him. The food is a connection for him. But then also we have this thing where, like you said, he's losing his taste, which can, also be like, a metaphor for depression, or like, kind of like you're losing your taste. The colors are not as bright. The smells are not as strong. Like, you're unhappy in your life, right? And it's not until the end of this movie that he kind of, lets go of it all. He lets his daughter cook him a meal finally. He admits who his true love is.
Which is
and that he's finally able to like open up and taste again. And it's at the end of the movie, he says, "Oh wow, like there's too much ginger in this." And he's like, "Wait, I can taste that." And it's amazing.
They have this like adorable father-daughter moment,
which is
that they've been
awesome.
like that. Clearly, Jiazhen has been wanting for so long, specifically around cooking, and then she gets it, and it's amazing.
He's been so anti this idea of her cooking, and then finally she owns the house. He's moved out. Let's talk about that reveal.
Oh my God.
What do you think about that? So obviously the big twist. This movie, like I said, kind of has a few twists. You see that the middle daughter's apartment falls through. The youngest daughter gets pregnant. Like, those things are kind of surprising in the ways that they happen in the movie. Mm-hmm. The biggest twist is that Mr. Chu, throughout the film, he's kind of they have this family friend, an older woman and their daughter that moves back. And then also another small child that moves back from America, from Taiwan. The woman had gotten divorced. And you see him hanging out with this older woman, the matriarch, the mother.
Well, that mom was coming back from America where her other daughter lived, who is the friend that was dating the boyfriend of the older sister.
Exactly. It's all very complicated.
So they're all connected.
So it's basically, there's this family friend, there's an older woman, there's a woman that's the daughter's age, and then there's a small child.
And the older woman is who you think dad's going to love.
They're setting it up. The children are setting up as, oh my gosh, they should get married. That's so great. You also see these interactions of the father making these lunches for the young child who goes to school, which is probably like the best part of the whole movie.
So precious.
These wonderful interactions between Mr. Chu and the little girl. He does the same thing where he brings her like a 10-course meal for lunch, and all the little kids start clamoring around.
Yep.
But the reveal at the end of the movie is not that he wants to be with this little child's grandma, but no, he's marrying the child's mother,
who has got to be like the same age as one of his daughters, and I think it's
she was like a childhood friend of the older daughter.
I don't like it. And one of my notes after watching it was, after the plot twist of him being into the little girl's mom, I cannot say his lunches for her were with pure intentions. That feels like a nice way to slide in.
Well, he did also very much say, he was like, "Don't tell your mom that I'm doing this." Like,
but then her mom found out.
Yeah, I'm
just saying.
I think my personal opinion is that at that time they already had a relationship. I think is what it's supposed to lead you to believe.
Ew.
That they, not like prior to the moving here, but like, I think the idea is that he is doing this for the girl because he's like seeing her as his daughter already at that point. And maybe she doesn't recognize that.
Just like,
I agree. Like, it's a weird age difference thing. But it is definitely something that maybe doesn't sit as well, when watching this in context. It feels a little strange. I get that.
Even the grandmother loses her shit.
That's true. That's everyone's kind of like, this is kind of crazy, which is why I do like it as an ending, because it's unexpected, but it also kind of feels a little bit.
It's not even the full ending. He gets the chick pregnant.
Well, that's true. He does go on to have a child. It feels a little bit unique and a little bit real in that kind of weird way.
I mean, yeah, it felt very realistic, because I think that happens more than we want to admit in society that it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
And ultimately, like, you love who you love. There's nothing actually problematic with this relationship. It just comes out of
she has a child already.
It just comes out of nowhere. And so you're just left shocked in the movie.
Intentionally so, yeah.
Overall, I really enjoyed that reveal, because I think it's giving him something else other than his daughters to focus his time on. And it's allowing space for like healing in their relationships. Which is why I really love the ending of Mr. Chu and Jiazhen having dinner together. Because you get to see like You get a glimpse of their relationship is getting better. And they leave it there for you to just interpret however you want, which I love movies that do that because it's very realistic for me. That like it's unrealistic for everything to have a happy ending, but this just shows that like there's at least space being made for that happy ending. Her father's old, like, you know, who knows how long.
There is another like setup throughout the movie, which was part of the thing that was a little confusing to me, where they're like, she thinks her father's dying because she sees him at the hospital, but it's really he was just there to like prove that he was so healthy he could marry this young woman.
Which in itself is crazy to me that there was like you need proof.
You had to
of
go
that
get it.
stuff.
Well, they had to show the mom.
I think that's genius. The only other thing that I really wanted to know more about after all of this was just what happened with Jianing and her friend that she stole the boyfriend from.
I think
because
she go to the wedding?
Right, that's what I want to know, because they just end it there. You don't see what happens after she reveals to her friend that she's seeing her now ex-boyfriend, and I want to.
Were they just windy friends?
That's what I want to know. Because was work awkward then?
Were they friends? Yeah, I mean,
work was definitely awkward, but like
you're walking around the chicken tender station or the nug station.
So I just really want to know a little bit more about that dynamic.
That is the unfortunate thing, is like as soon as I imagine she probably stops working at Wendy's when she gets married and pregnant, but as soon as she moves out,
how's she paying?
She's removed from the. Well, you know, this guy, this goon, he's got to get a job, I guess.
She is technically living with him and his parents, and his parents seem to be loaded. So, anyways,
that's fair. Is this a good date movie?
I think it's a decent date night movie. You need to pay attention, obviously, because there's subtitles.
Gotta read the subtitles.
So it depends on the kind of date night you're wanting to have.
Yeah, definitely so. You know, maybe not a first date movie, but you get a couple dates in. You want to, watch a wonderful story about a family.
Yeah, it's definitely not one you can talk through. So if you unless you're down to hit pause, to discuss something, you have to be with someone that is fine with not talking during it.
Definitely. Thank you guys for listening to this episode about Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. You can follow the rest of our happenings over here at Cody and Korbin Have a Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Cat Podcasts, KHAPODCAST. Please follow us on Spotify, give us a rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow along for more.